Okay, we talked about the private sector, the risk that the private sector could possibly face in this political dispensation. And you did mention that it's not just the private sector,
Everybody,
but the public sector.
all the
so
sectors.
What degree of public sector exposure to this risk?
To start with, by the time the political process starts, if care is not taken, public spending might be distorted. Focus may be a lot on political campaigns, rallies, moving about. Public institutions may not have, even budgets, amount that have been appropriated to them, may not have those things released to them, because more attention may be focused to political rallies, activities, and even spend. Many times, there are allegations that even funds meant for one or two projects or plans are diverted into things that will enable politicians bring out money for their elections. And you also find a lot of public institutions being neglected in terms of operational handling. These are all risks, operational risks. If people who are meant to be in the office, who are meant to be doing their work, are now having to do things that will support the president or whoever in raising campaign, and people are also now being muzzled or being, how do I put it, bent towards one direction, it may distort activities in the country. Funds may not be properly accounted for, appropriated, and people will be distracted. Secretaries, administrators may abandon their duties just facing the campaigns. That's a major risk. Financing risk is not going to be there for many of these institutions because they may not be able to have enough finance, because we are approving the budget very late already. By the time they settle into operating it, we're into the heat of the primaries and all of that. So I fear that this budget, if we're not careful, will just end up consuming most of the recurrent expenditure part of it. But the capital projects that are meant to involve people sitting down, strategizing, having good handshake with consultants, and getting on ground to get things done, whether it's in aviation or agriculture or educational infrastructure or even housing, where we're performing very poorly as a nation, or other infrastructure, even the refineries we're talking about. This country needs urgent attention to economic issues much more than political issues. But unfortunately, we can't abandon the politics, because the politics itself brings about governance that leads to proper economic decisions. So it's a process we must go through. But I'm pleading with the managers of this economy, while we do the political activities, which are inevitable, attention must not be diverted from very important economic decisions, whether it's under the Economic Recovery Growth Plan or the pursuit of our sustainable development goals, and a lot of other issues that must bring this country out of this hole where we are into clear prosperity, where the growth rates don't only just grow, but the well-being of people are ensured, and people begin to get happy again in this country. The things we're seeing, there's high level of insecurity. People are dying every day in this country. A lot of blood is being shed. Things are not working well. There's so much injustice and inequity. This must be addressed. And these are even more urgent than this process we're going to go through. Even though the process itself will also have a way of addressing these issues. Because if those who are leading us are not equitable and just in leading to an unjust social order, then through the political process, people will make their statements when the time comes. So I admonished the ruling party in their interest, even ahead of the 2019 election, to ensure that don't abandon the welfare of the people of this country. Because we are almost at the state where you can call Thomas Hobbes will call it an anarchical situation. And in political philosophy studies, if you get to that situation where there's anarchy, human life becomes very poor, very brutish, very nasty, and very short. So, and that's what people are dying anyhow in this country. So that's an issue that must be given attention to. Otherwise, it will heighten the risk we have already. And once that is heightened, the environment will become very gloomy again, and investors will stay aside. Even domestic investors will also be cautious in their investment, and we may see this country slowing down again if we're not careful, sliding back into recession. God forbid.
Okay, let's look at the security risk. Could you share your perspective on this security risk?
The primary essence of government, like you would say in public finance studies, the Israelites in the first Samuel asked the king, asked some, the prophets to appoint a king for them who will take care of their affairs. There are different sides to it. So the primary purpose, the king is meant to provide security for the people and ensure that there's no external aggression from other independent entities, and ensure that there's no oppression or injustice from one member of the society to the other. So the primary role of government is to provide security for the people. But you and I know what's going on in this country. Nigeria is ranked as one of the most unsafe places to live in, even though we can argue that the prevalence of terrorism and all of that is in one part of the country. But in ranking, in political risk rating or security risk issues, Nigeria is ranked a highly unsafe place to be at this time. So the Boko Haram issue, the terrorist attacks, and now the very horrifying herdsmen killing that has appeared very persistent, unabating, horrible, and very dangerous at this point, is not being addressed. We make statements when these attacks happen, assuring people of safety and all of that. We're not seeing a conscious, well thought out plan to curb these killings. People's blood are being shed, at the altar of politics, injustice in this country. And as I said earlier, until we stop this bloodshed, there is no assurance of feasible development coming upon this country. I think security is the first thing we have to attack. We are not safe, even though we have been assured that Boko Haram had been defeated, but whether they are now reappearing as headsmen, and we're even almost scared that these things are not happening, that we are aware, the presidency is aware that these things are being perpetrated by people who came from other countries, who entered our border. That's very scary. So we're saying that we have not been able to protect our border, and we're not able as a government to defend our people against external aggression. That's a total failure. And even that statement heightens our security risk rating as a nation.
Just before I let you go, Mr. Udemezue, how do you think the present administration can actually remain focused, even in the midst of all of these political activities, to be able to remain focused towards achieving economic growth?
Focus is a very critical trait of good leadership. They must be focused on vision created by them. Do they have a vision for this country? Is it well articulated? Then they should stay focused on it. And they shouldn't get distracted. And one way they should focus on that is to continue to engage important stakeholders, regularly. And to drop, because when you win an election as a president, you become the president of the whole nation. So I think to gain that focus, they shouldn't allow political thoughts and issues to becloud the sense of belonging that everybody should have in this country. Everybody who has solution to offer should be brought in. Let there be equity and justice and social, just social order in the way this country is run. That way we will be sure there will be stability in the politics. Thank you. All
right. Thank you very much for your time. Orji Udemezue is a management and financial consultant. We'll take another break, and when we come back, we'll look at the equities market with a pre-open analysis. To stay with us.